In June of 2008, Chris and I decided to go to the 10th Annual Allied Media Conference. We loaded up our veggie oil-powered truck with snacks, zines, and books and set out on the road to Detroit. The truck ride's a bit bumpy due to its size and weight, and we had some filtration problems on the way up, but nothing that we couldn't fix. Our truck was owned and lived in by a Buddhist monk and our friend Gabby before we started using it. It's actually converted to an RV with a bed, shower, electricity, table, sink, composting toilet, and plenty of storage room for things like books and bikes. Most of the time, though, I am just staring at the ceiling, wishing I had thought ahead to decorate it for this trip. Oh, and that's our swamp cooler. We've both attended the conference for years and watched it grow and evolve. We were skeptical and nervous when it moved to Detroit, not because of the city's reputation, but because of our vast love for the restaurant Squeakers in the conference's old home of 8 years, Bowling Green. Bowling Green, Squeakers, and the Unitarian Church offered a very simple life of sleeping, eating, workshops, tabling, eating, conversation, bowling, and more eating. In its 9th year, the conference moved to Detroit and lost about 90% of its tablers. This year, that number was again cut in half. The programming has drastically changed its focus to highlight workshops and panels, now primarily targeting inner-city youth of color. Most attendees are also coming for the first time this year. And that aspect has been a smashing success. But the thing that got left behind was print. In 2007, the conference hosted a workshop featuring various former magazine editors bemoaning the death of print, while simultaneously featuring numerous workshops like Why Blog? How Blog? Women of Color Bloggers, and How to Set Up an Internet Radio Station. The party line certainly seemed to be, print is dead, now let's move on. I did some on-site investigative journalism about how people felt about this dynamic.
Independent media brings on more truth and more real-life issues, and let the issues be heard by real-life people. Instead of, some educator giving their view on it, it brings in the people that are actually being affected.
This is my 4th year. First started coming, recognize the role that media plays. It's how we communicate with one another, and if we don't have control over how we communicate with one another, we're easily manipulated, easily controlled.
I've been really involved in community radio and in union organizing in Ontario, which is actually where I'm from. Okay. So I came today to learn just more about what's happening here and all the projects that people are working on.
I'm from Canada, and I do, over the years I've done work with community radio and a lot of work with print and magazines and alternative newspapers. And I really like coming and hearing what other people are doing.
I came to do a presentation about facilitating media access to prisoners, because a lot of times there often is an absence of prisoner voices or prison experiences in existing alternative media.
A lot of women are going to prison just for nonviolent crimes, and they're taken away from their families, which is destroying their demeanor while in the prisons. The prisons are geared towards men and not females, and is more punishment than rehabilitation.
I use print media partially because I am a Luddite, and also largely because this is also something that the women themselves can hold in their hand. Like, they cannot access the internet, they cannot access blogs or other sorts of media. Things like audio and video are probably not going to get into prison, but a zine is something that they can actually see themselves, and they can see the finished product, and they can see what's going on. And it's also another way to tap into a community that might not care about prison issues.
I do a lot of design work, and I unfortunately end up getting far more work doing web-based and digital media than doing print media, and I really love the tangible aspect to print.
And there's been a shift here over a number of years, I guess across 10 years, from primarily print media to primarily digital and online media. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I love it.
Well, I noticed that because I'm a print person. Like, I'm still clinging to that, right? So for me, I didn't venture very far into the workshops that focused on that more digital realm because I'm still clinging to the past.
I mean, the shift has definitely been towards online media, largely blogging, which, you know, I certainly recognize is something a lot of people have access to. You don't have to have startup funds to buy a blog, things of the sort. And so as a media, it is something that needs to be talked about. But at the same time, you know, I love print media. And I feel that it's increasingly being ignored as a media outlet.
I think people are definitely moving away from print, unfortunately. I think for a lot of people, I think it's cost.
I think a lot of people buy into the hype that everything is online now, and that everything is moving towards digitalization. But I don't know, maybe it's just the people that I hang out with on a regular basis and my view is skewed, but everyone I know still reads print media and still loves print media, and so I think it's sort of self-fulfilling prophecy.
I've gotten a really good response from people who never would have picked up a book or a newsletter or watched a documentary or listened to a radio segment about women prisoners issues, but have decided to trade zines because this is what zine makers do.
Media is how we communicate with one another, and corporate media certainly isn't leaving behind print. There's, you know, conglomeration of publishers and distributors in this country, as well as TV news outlets and newspapers. And so if we're not focusing on how to take back those media or how to create alternatives to those media, then, you know, we're giving up those those forms of media. So.
Well, I definitely think that there is an absolute need for alternative print media. I think that is absolutely essential still. Yeah, I don't think it's right that they have as big a market share as they do.
To me, it's about using all the tools that we have access to, and recognizing the role that those tools play in a complete strategy. This is the geek in me as well. Like the prospects that are there with digital media are huge. I would still like to see print stuff, but that's because I just love it. But okay. I think it's also for this type of group of people and with the organizing aspect, I think that movement makes a lot of sense.
Get out there, put a video out, let people see. A lot of people can identify and already know, well, gosh, I'm going through that too. No one ever asked me about it, you know. I didn't really have a voice in the beginning. But now, you know, there are people that really want to help me out and help out my condition.
I would really love to see a very rich person die and leave a large amount of money to actually be able to perpetuate the idea of print and to make it more affordable.
I wouldn't say that as a whole the conference is becoming less relevant to a grassroots movement, but to me, and you know, what I really love about grassroots media, it is.